Good start, guys. All right, it's recording now. I looked over because I wanted to see how long we started for.
Well, at least you caught it early.
Yeah, that's what I mean. At least I caught it early.
You know, it could be worse. It could have been like an hour.
Yeah. All right. All right. That was, you know what? That was a good start. That was a good start.
Mm-hmm.
You good, Fee?
Yeah. I am.
She's writing her letter of resignation right now. All right. Recording. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the very first episode of Fantasy in Progress, a point-in-progress podcast. I am your host, Harv, and this is a podcast all about Final Fantasy. This is for Final Fantasy 14 because it's a very popular game now. All of a sudden, everybody's been playing it. It's probably because of all the big streamers and stuff like that, but seeing people jumping into it, we're just like, why not? Let's give this a try. Let's do a podcast. We're going to try to make this a weekly podcast and see how that goes. For this week, this is going to be the three main people. It's going to be me and Fee. How you doing, Fee?
Mm-hmm. I'm doing absolutely fantastic. How about you?
I'm doing well. We recorded this before with jokes, and now I feel like she's out of energy for the jokes because I forgot to hit record.
Believe me, I'm saying it is 9 p.m. here, so everything is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super late.
Totally 9
and
p.m. 100%.
Yeah,
It's 9
everything's
p.m.
going
everywhere.
super dandy. It's 9 p.m. everywhere now. Absolutely.
And then on to my right is Frank. How you doing, Frank?
Hello, I'm doing great. I'm very energized. It's totally not almost 11 o'clock my time, but I took a nap before this, so I feel great.
We're all good because like when this is gonna come out, it's gonna be tomorrow. So Thursday. So Fee's off tomorrow, so you can go crazy. I work at 7 a.m., but it's whatever. You know, it's just one of those things. But
Yeah.
for housekeeping wise, we did have a 12-minute spoiler cast that just went out a couple days ago. Check that out. We had me, Mario, Robo Dessert, and Robert Hywood from Co-op Comedy on there. It's a very good podcast talking about all about 12 minutes and how much we enjoyed it and how much we didn't enjoy it. So there's a push and pull on both sides.
Yeah.
But for this one, we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy 14. So we're going to go through. So right now, we're really far into the game. We're about into Stormblood now. But we're going to be going back. We're going to be talking about all of the expansions. We're going to talk about the story. But the first thing we're going to talk about is the experience. This is Frank's first MMORPG that he's like legit played. Right. That is on like a legit server, not like private servers or anything like that. And this is Fee's big delve back into MMO from Blizzard's World of Warcraft.
Correct, yeah.
So I do want to talk to that. That's the reason why we have both of them. I have both of them here for this podcast as well, is because I want to talk about their stories and what they think about it. So Frank, what is your like top level thoughts on this MMORPG? Oh, the MMORPG just in general when it comes to Final Fantasy 14.
So notoriously, I usually don't like MMOs. You guys have probably heard me say it before we even started Final Fantasy when we were talking about WoW or any of the other things. My forays into it are basically just RuneScape and like whatever was free at the time, whatever like if anybody remembers Silk Road and like all those other free MMOs that came out. I delve into those, but I never really got into them. So when we were like, hey, we're gonna get into Final Fantasy 14. I was like, I'm not really into subscription models. I'm not really into, putting hundreds of hours into like a game as expansive as that. And then, we got into it. And, I started to play it a little bit. I'm like, you know what? These classes are pretty fun. These controls, very, very slick. This story, actually kind of good.
That's where I've like, so a lot of people that have played Final Fantasy 14 know that The Realm Reborn is kind of a slog. When you go through it, it's trying to teach you a lot of things, but at the same time, there's a lot of like, go over here, do this, but it means nothing. I feel
Yeah.
like at least like 40% of A Realm Reborn is like that.
Yeah, and you're 100% right on that. It's true, because A Realm Reborn is a lot of exposition. It's a lot of exposition. But I feel like that actually favors into later on in the game where like they don't have to reintroduce characters because you already know who they are, or you should know who they are by now. It serves the bigger picture of the game once you think about how Realm Reborn is. But yeah, that beginning slog is kind of there's a lot there,
It's rough.
but it's
Yeah,
fun
it
at
can get
least.
rough.
Yeah.
But the good thing about us is like we're all playing together. So
Mhm.
how we've been playing this game? We've been playing this game all together when it comes to story, when it comes to like just pretty much story. Everything else,
Yeah.
everybody's just doing whatever they want to do, leveling up crafts and stuff like that. So coming from your side, you played World of Warcraft for a long time,
I sure did.
and now jumping into Final Fantasy 14 because I know how hesitant you were jumping into Final Fantasy 14. So what have
Oh
your
my
like top level thoughts been so far?
Well, yeah, I played WoW for about 5 years, and so I already knew that I had an addiction problem when it came to MMORPGs.
Yeah.
I almost felt it a little bit when I tried to play ESO last year during the pandemic, and then I'm like, okay, like I think, like I know when I need to stop, and so I just like bundled up ESO and pushed it away, and I'm like, I can't do another MMO. I just can't do another one. And then you're like, hey, Final Fantasy 14. You really liked WoW. You should play Final Fantasy. You like anime. You should like Final Fantasy 14. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. I cannot do this. I can't go back to MMOs. Like, if I want to have a job, any sort of friendship or relationship with absolutely anybody, I cannot play an MMORPG. It's just, I get like, it just consumes everything about like every aspect of my life, essentially. Because when I played WoW, it was I was going to school and then I would go home, go to sleep, wake up, eat, maybe do some homework, and then I would play World of Warcraft all night because I was raiding. So I'm like, my life was rotating around this specific game, and so I was concerned when you were like, let's just play a little bit, and I'm like, no.
Dip your toe in a little bit.
Here's the
just
drug.
dip it in.
You know, just here's the
Just a
sampler
little.
pack.
Yeah.
Just do a little bit. You know, just a hit.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, I know you have a bad addiction to like specific things. Here's just a little. No, so I was very hesitant for a very long time. It took a few months, a few Twitter polls, and numerous conversations with a lot of people to actually get me to sit down and be like, okay, I'll just download the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy 14. And here I am 2 months later on a podcast talking about Final Fantasy 14. So that's pretty much how that's going for me.
Oh man. It's just so weird, that initial conversation that we had. I remember the day where we're sitting in Discord and I'm just like, okay, fine, fuck it. I guess I'll download it. Fee's just like, okay, fuck it. I guess we'll just download it. And it's just like, and I was just like, man, I don't think this is going to last very long. I think we're probably going to play it till like the trial's over, and then that's probably about it.
Yeah, like, you know,
Here we
get
are.
about a couple weeks, 3 weeks, we'll all fall off on it and stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? But like, I'm
No.
happy that we all are like we're all invested now inside this game. Like we're invested for I see for the at least for the some sort of foreseeable future.
Oh, for sure.
What
At least
is-
until Endwalker.
yeah, at least till Endwalker,
the sport.
like the
Yeah.
end,
Yeah.
like the end of Endwalker at least, right?
Mhm.
Because for the story and stuff like that. So what is your main takeaway from this game feed from World of Warcraft? Like what are like, let's, because there could be a lot of differences. What are your top 3 differences that you've seen coming from that MMO to this one?
The community is number 1. 2, a storyline. And 3, honestly, the way that they've overcome from what I've seen in documentaries to where they are now. You can tell the people who made this game love the game and they play the game themselves. They see themselves and think like, okay, this is something that I don't really like, or maybe this is something I can do to improve the game. And as we all know, and we're going to be talking about ARR, it's like it was the reborn of a game that was failing.
Mhm.
And instead of thinking like, okay, we just kill it and we come up with Final Fantasy 14.5, we go with, let's create an entire new expansion just based around the fact that we killed a game to then resurrect it into what it is now. So those are my 3 favorites, because I could go on about each one of these topics.
So okay, let's talk about about community. Let's go with that, because a lot of people, like, I don't, for you and Frank, I know MMO communities are like, they're not you don't know MMO communities, like you haven't been through an MMO before, but like how does it differ from like the communities like Destiny and stuff like that? Because like as much as they say, like, you know, like people, they say it's an MMO, but it's like whatever the terminology Destiny has, it still has a community, as a core community built into it, right?
Yeah, it has people. There's definitely a constant. Well, how do I say this? There's definitely a constant attitude towards other players in those games.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with Mako yesterday about Destiny, and one of the things I brought up was I really would love to go back to Destiny, but I really like Final Fantasy because I don't have to stress out and I don't have to worry about other players being absolute assholes. One of the biggest things that draws me to Final Fantasy is just how easy it is to, 1, find a game, 2, find other players to play with, and 3, not have to worry about them being absolute shitlords.
Yeah.
It is so refreshing to play a game and not have to, like, I play Final Fantasy and I never feel an ounce of anger or stress. You know what I mean? Like, of course, I feel like if I get hit by something, I'm like, that's bullshit. But not until the point where I'm like punching a table or like, you know, throwing a mouse or just like yelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like one of those things where like you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna shut this game off because you're mad, kind of type thing.
Yeah,
right?
I've never had to like rage quit because of this game. It's very refreshing to play something that is as big and expansive as this in a big expansive world with a lot of people and not have a feeling of absolute like, am I doing this right? And if I'm not doing it right, are people going to call me out on it?
Yeah.
You know
because
what I mean?
one of the biggest things, they can't see her. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're also
Fee, I think
right
you're muted.
I'm pretending like she's not there.
Oh.
I'm just going like this because no one can see what I'm doing.
Nobody can. Nobody can.
Yeah, it's just refreshing though to like, you know, if you do wind up doing something wrong in this community, people don't go, well, you're an idiot. People go, hey, for future reference, this is how you're supposed to do that. And then you learn. That's how games are supposed to be. You're supposed to learn from each other, not yell at each other.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to the hardcore rating scene, so for people who don't know, I've been playing this game for about 8 years now. So I know the game inside and out. And I've been from the very start of the game in 2013. I have been playing this game. So 2012, 2013 or something like that. And there is a toxic part of this game, which is where the hardcore rating part comes into play.
Yeah,
right?
the ERP.
Or the ERP, I guess. I'm sure that can get toxic too. I'm not gonna lie, I can probably get toxic. But like the hardcore rating scene can get toxic because people are looking for FF logs. Like, you gotta be at this percentage, you gotta be able to do this and all that kind of stuff. And if you can't do it, you get kicked out of the group and stuff like that, right? That's a very, very, very low percentage chance. Like, if you see a person in a party finder coming in, or like when you're in like a duty and they're like, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you know that these guys are hardcore raiders from the very
get-go.
you're
probably in a spot where like if you're not up to that level, you should probably get the fuck out immediately.
Yeah. So like there is that part, but I do agree with the community is a little bit different, or it's a lot different from other games. Like, Fee, you could probably talk about this from the World of Warcraft community to the Final Fantasy 14 one.
Yeah, there are like, and I'm gonna say this up front, there are some really great people playing World of Warcraft, and even to this day, same way, I have some people who I still talk to, not as frequently as every day like I used to, but they were incredibly nice people, and I could consider them still friends to this day. But as someone who leveled through World of Warcraft not once, twice, probably 8 times, because I leveled 8 characters up to max, and then on top of that, just doing like main raids, because I was in a relatively like, I guess, aggressive or like competitive guild on my server at the time, and to just some of the alt raids. Even then, there was a little bit of hostility in weird situations. And then just the way that people interacted with each other overall was a little bit off at some points, but you just kind of like either shrug it off or you just don't say anything. Then again, I could say this easily because I played this, the last time I played World of Warcraft was in 2014.
Yeah.
So it's been a very long time. It's been a while. And I'm now older and looking back at some of the mistakes that I made during that game, I'm like, girl, what the fuck? Like, you dealt with a lot of BS that you shouldn't have, or you should have spoken up for yourself or someone else because people were not so great.
Yeah, what are you talking about, Fee? I thought it was all Asmongold doing all that.
There's so many more people.
Right?
It's so many more people. But yeah, it was just even just the way that I've been leveling, even today, for example, I played Samurai for the first time and I went into a dungeon and I'm like, hey, I'm really sorry. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And they're like, hey, that's a-okay. And we all laughed about the fact that we could not survive to save our lives. And it was mostly the other two, but it was just a really nice interaction. But yeah, I think I'm interested to see how this game is at end content rating in comparison to World of Warcraft. I know we don't specifically have plans to be like hardcore raiders by any stretch, but it would be interesting to see how they specifically interact, and I might need to like watch some actual like streams in the next few weeks to kind of compare the two. But even just the way that we've been leveling and dealing with randoms, it's definitely been a breath of fresh air in comparison. But like I said, I want to disclose that there are definitely nice people who play WoW, but it has been a completely different situation when it comes to leveling in Final Fantasy and how helpful everyone is. And just randomly people, like the amount of times that I've had random conversations with people, you guys know for a fact, I've stopped as an MSQ because I wanted to have a conversation with someone who had a really cool gear set. And they're like, yeah, I got it here. This is the list of things I got. I'm like, that's awesome. Or the person who comes up to me and they're like, hey, where'd you get that horse mount? And I'm like, oh, I got it through this particular thing. What was it? Was I writing
the Ramu mount?
I think I was writing the Ramu mount.
Yeah,
and
the lightning is the one you write all the time.
Yes, yeah. So I was writing the Ramu mount and I explained to him how to get it, and he's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I'll keep that on my list. And like, I'm like, that's great. Like, I hope you have a great time and enjoy Final Fantasy 14. So it's still very odd just trying to look at the two in comparison, because I had some instances where I would just be like, oh, you don't know how to do the dungeon? Wha-bam, you're out. Oh, you don't know how to do this? Wha-bam, you're kicked. And it's just like, oh, okay, this is a little bit.
Yeah. So jumping off from that, I want to talk about the leveling style, because like this is also a game where everything is done on one job, right? This is because like I know a lot of people are like altaholics, where you just make it all for this, you make it all for that, you make it all like this.
Correct.
Like I think Destiny has the same thing too, where you can't change jobs from if you're a hunter,
you're a hunter,
you're a hunter forever, right?
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, same way. Once you pick a job, you're kind of stuck with that job until you make an alt. What has been your guys' experience with that? Because for me, it is because I've experienced this from Final Fantasy 11. I played that for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So like for me, it was like, this is amazing. Like keep the whole strategy. I just want one character and just want to run with that character, because you feel attached to that character a little bit more.
I was so confused, and I know for a fact Harv and I had multiple conversations about this, because I'm like, okay, so I want to make this character, and he's like, yeah, and I'm like, okay, so I need to think of other characters. Like, why? And I'm like, because I might want to do like a healer, because I played as a paladin, and I wanted to play like a healer at the same time. He's like, no, you don't need to do that. You can just make one character. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, why am I able to do this? Like, I know for a fact. And then I got there was a lot of hurdles for me because it was very confusing. And then I'm like, okay, like I'll figure, like for crafting, I'll look at maybe like, I think I'm going to do like armory and blacksmithing. And Harv's is like, okay, that's cool. But like, what about the others? I'm like, what do you mean the others? Like, I'm only supposed to have 2. And he's like, no, you can do all the crafting and all the gathering. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm very confused by this, because in WoW, if you want to switch from like, let's say you have jewel crafting and you have mining, you have to get rid of one, cold turkey, remove it, and then get another one. So for me, it's very confusing to have the ability to go and be able to become a sorcerer if you not a sorcerer, my goodness, a summoner if you wanted to, and then you could switch to a dark knight with no problems, and then you want to do like what is it, alchemy, but then you also want to switch over to fit. Like that's just so confusing to me, and like now it's to a point where I can't even see myself playing another character because I was having that today because I was looking over and I'm like, okay, maybe I change my character a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to change my character. She's literally my character in the game. Like I can't see myself playing another person. I can't see myself using a Fantasia. Like she's literally my character in this game. So it's completely it had to take a lot of rewiring for me to understand how to play this game, or at least to like really grasp how to maneuver through this game and realize like you don't need to have the 8 alts that you add in WoW.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about that. Mind you, it's definitely different though.
Yeah.
For sure.
What about you, Frank?
So I'm kind of used to obviously not in terms of other MMOs, I'm not used to that system, but I'm used to it because I play a lot of Skyrim. Yeah. And in Skyrim, you could do mainly the same thing as just your one character. You're one guy, you can be everything, right? But I've never seen it in an MMO done like that. And I think everybody should emulate this system. Because when you play Final Fantasy 14 and you see how easy it is to switch from just building an item, right? Where like I am a leather worker, I need X, Y, and Z. Okay, fine, I need leather. Let me switch to my machinist, go grab some leather really quick from one of the characters. I need to turn that leather into something else. Let me go ahead and switch to a weaver so I can get the thread for this. Okay, now I can switch to a blacksmith so I can make the metal for this. It makes so much sense to have all this kind of in one spot if you want those classes, and they're all in service to each other. So if you build on one, you can build on another, which builds on another, which builds on another, to the point where like you're like me now. It's just like I have level 50 in all the crafting.
That's
it's just like
that's the benefit of it, right? Because if you want to make like a piece of like armor, for example, some of the pieces you need to make with other crafts before you get to that final craft, right? And it really helps you diversify your crafting. The biggest problem that I have with it, like, I love this system too. This is my favorite system, and every game should have this. The only problem when it comes to this system is inventory space. This is where the problem really kind of arises, because we have you have 140 slots in your bag. You have another like 60 slots in your saddle bag, not including the paid.
I think it's 75 for the bag. 75?
Okay.
Yeah, 75 for the bag, 175 for the bank.
Yeah. And then, another 175 for your retainers. And it's just like, it's still not enough. It's just does not feel like it's enough.
Not close. So, I got to the point where, like, once I hit a certain level, so now that I'm at 50 for most of my crafters, I went back and just deleted anything that's under level 50. Yeah. Like, I'm not making any of this gear anymore. There's no point in me having these materials for it. It is the worst.
Yeah, I was going with Fee today, and she was cleaning out her bags, and she had so much crap, and some doubles and triples were in there too, which like this game does give you the hoarding mentality, because like once you get a sword, you're like, oh, this sword looks cool, I'm gonna keep it for a while, I'm gonna use it. You never fucking use it. You never use that sword. That sword is never gonna be used. Maybe like one day you'd be like, oh, I'm gonna use this weird jagged ass sword, but no, you're not.
Or it's a glamour or some shit.
Yeah, no, because you could get it any time anyways. You could just go buy it or something like that, so it's not that big of an issue. But inventory space is one of the main problems.
Yeah, it is an MMO. It's got to have some elements to make you want to buy some extra stuff. Like, you want to get some extra inventory space, you got to pay an extra $10 a month. You know what I mean?
B.
It was I got like, here's the thing. If you ever have opened up Netflix over the past 2 years, there's this show specifically about a very fascinating, very intelligent woman named Mary Kondo, where she goes through your items and she's like, okay, no, thank it and appreciate that it was there with you, and then get rid of it.
Yes.
That was the complete opposite of what I was dealing with today. It was delete it, take it out of your inventory. Fee, you don't need it. Fee, you don't. Why are you decent?
Tough love.
Just
Tough
remove
love.
it. Just remove it.
I
Just remove it.
remember seeing your inventory yesterday, and you had like armor in your main inventory, and I'm like, Fee, why do you have armor in your main inventory and not in your inventory, like your armory chest?
Just because it's full.
Yeah,
it's because it's full. I realize that now. Like, oh shit, it's because it's full.
It was very much like at the beginning, Harv's is like you could tell that he was just getting less and less patient with me because he's like, Fee, and then he's just like, wait, your chocobo bags are full, and I'm like,
with fish that she's never going to use. Can't use.
Yeah, or I mean, I desynth all that, but takes a
she
while
ended
to
up
get to
desynthing it. Yeah, she ended up desynthing it. But like, it's one of those things where I am guilty of that too. Like, because like on my main character, I recently did like a purge of shit, and now my armory doesn't have anything more than like 10 slots. That's like that's the max it has for each things because for every job. But it does get like once you start getting gear over and over, it's just filling up, and you're like, "Where? I just did this like a week ago. What the fuck?"
Yeah. Yep. To be fair to the game, they do give you a lot of resources to do with that gear if you're not going to use it.
Yeah.
Like you can put it in your glamour chest if you want to use it later on, but you just don't want it in your inventory. You could sell it to the GC, the Grand Company, for tokens, which is pretty nice because those tokens do come in handy very often. Or you can put them on the market, depending on if they are marketable. You can make some good money off of it and stuff like that. But you lose inventory space really quick. I think we ran out almost like immediately when we started.
Crafting and gathering will do that.
Yeah,
crafting and gathering will do that. What do you guys? So before we get into your jobs that you guys play.
Sure.
What are you guys thinking about the crafting and gathering? Just like top level thoughts on it.
I love it. Here's the okay, I want to reiterate. I love fishing.
You want to probably also mention that your fishing is higher than your actual fucking fighting character.
It is.
So my fishing is currently at 75. I am 5 levels away from maxing it. I'm thinking about maxing it this weekend. So I very much when I played WoW, I was very much into the monotonous like mining and doing like getting all the fishing achievements and all this other stuff. So fishing in this game, by the way, is very easy. I went around with my little otter companion named Archie, and which, by the way, for people who are listening who have never played Final Fantasy before, you cannot name your minions. I've just considered that this particular otter, who is dressed in a Hawaiian shirt and a straw hat, is named Archie. And I go around with him with his little pail and his fishing rod, and I go fishing. But no, I really enjoyed it. This crafting, I find a little bit overwhelming because it's like, here's a bunch of stuff that you need, and then it has been really nice to gradually have like those like every 5 levels doing those quests. But there's a specific point where it just takes like, for me, it takes like a left turn. It's just like, okay, just make this small thing, and now you need to make all these high qualities, and there's not just one, it's multiple of them, and you need to spend like 50k, and you're like, on a quest? I don't want to spend 50k on a quest.
So usually I feel like when it comes to quests, they give you the materials and you just kind of make them, right? I feel like that happens for a lot of MMOs, right? They give you the materials, and you just have to like do a high quality version of everything, right? In this game, you actually have to go like either mine the stuff, go buy the stuff, and then make high quality. Go
kill the monster that drops the leather for it or something like that.
Yeah.
Mind you, I am like, as a person who's new to the game, I'm kind of being like Smog, where I'm just like, I'm like hoarding money now, just like I'm hoarding gear, and I'm like, I don't want to spend my 2 mil. And they're like, but you need to make more money. And I'm like, but I don't want to spend this 2 mil. Like,
scared money don't make no money.
all I'm gonna say is wait till you get to Shadowbringers, and then once you get, just make sure you have 80 culinary, and you can make money so fast.
Yeah, that's
like,
my plan.
It doesn't even matter on the market board. You can just do Lev quests, and you'll get to 80. Like you'll get like with 100 Lev quests, you can make like 3-4 mil like that. So like it's not money in this game. I've always had a love-hate relationship when it comes to Gil in this game, but yeah. So Frank, you play Machinist. I know you played Bard for a little while. What are your top level thoughts of the Machinist class?
Oh, dude, I love it. I love it. It's so fun. The main thing is it's easy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The game basically tells you how to play a Machinist. My bar is literally just like a 3 by like 10 that I just like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 just go through it. But it's fun, man. I feel like I do good damage. The moves are really fun to see. The effects that you see your character do is really fun, like flipping around and all that. I just unlocked the flamethrower today, so it's literally you just like shooting a flamethrower left and right over and over again, like a figure 8 formation, while your character's just smiling like an asshole.
I
It's so
like when
great.
you go because you have the overheat now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when your character starts doing fucking flips while he's doing his GCDs, you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. So today I went through a complete control overhaul because I realized that like there was a lot of things that I was doing wrong. Like I would look at like with my bar on the bottom of the screen, I have to look down to make sure my GCDs were like not in cooldown or like what was in cooldown, what wasn't.
Yeah.
And then I realized, you know what, I should have that probably right next to me so I can actually see the monster and actually like, you know, pay attention to that as well. So I changed all that. I moved some buttons around. So now like that move you just said, I literally just hit like one button and then I just spammed Q and E over and over again and it just works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the HUD layout is a big thing when it comes to this game, and it's like World of Warcraft. You get add-ons for all these different things for the HUD, and this game is like everything is built in. You can customize your HUD however you want, how crazy you want it to look. And like for healer, for example, I moved the party list all the way down to the bottom so that I can move over my mouse really quickly instead of fucking going into a corner. So like there's like a lot of those little things that you can do that really kind of customize this game to make it feel like it's your own game.
Yeah.
In a way.
Correct. Yeah.
And then Machinist lets me be a cowboy.
Yeah.
Which is great. You know what I mean? I'm just literally running around like a cowboy. I got my little hat. I'm wearing full, if you saw the general earlier, I'm wearing full samurai gear. But I still got my little hat. You know, the hat's going to stay a constant until I find something that looks better than that.
That's fair.
But it's fun. I'm thinking about going not red mage, black mage. I was reading a lot of stuff on it yesterday. So we'll see on that. But at least for right now, I'm at 79 for my Machinist. I might as well get to 80. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Finish it off. See where I go from there. But I'm having a blast as a character, man. Even with Bard. As a Bard, I had tons of fun. That was a really cool class where you can just kind of weave songs into other songs. This song is good for this type of battle, that and all that. But at least for right now, Machinist has been so goddamn fun. Fun.
I love it. P, you have been playing Dark Knight.
I sure have.
How has Dark Knight been for you, and how is it different? How has the tanking been for you?
I have honestly been really, really enjoying it. At the end of my WoW experience, I did a lot more tanking than I did healing, and so it kind of just gradually like throughout other MMOs that like when I played ESO, I played a tank, and then when we were playing other games, I'd always kind of lean towards more tanking or healing, but more tank most of all. And so I had started off as a Paladin. No hate on the Paladins, like Paladin is great, but I've just been having so much more fun with the Dark Knights to a point where like I'm gonna be honest, the beginning Dark Knight quest is probably one of my favorite story like arcs or quest arcs that I've ever experienced in an MMO, because it came out of left field. What specifically happens, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. Please, 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 if you're playing Final Fantasy, go through the actual quests for Dark Knight. You will not be disappointed. It is really, really well done. And I know when I was like super hyping it when it actually happened, and I was like, what the fuck, guys? I need to like go mute myself for like 20 minutes because I had to go through it. And I was just like, this is really well done. And I'm very excited to see how it goes and transitions up until 80, because I am now at a hurdle. Mind you, the second portion is fun, and there are definitely some crazy parts in it. They had to bring in Moogles. I'm not going to talk about that specific part.
Yeah, the Dark Knight stories brings in Moogles when you get to the Churning Mists.
Yeah, it's just for like a short period of time. But No, it's just been a lot of fun. It definitely feels even more like a DPS than it does to a tank because of just all the move bases, and I'm very used to like having things like a shield.
Yeah.
So moving into like, because I used to play things like Reinhardt, and I did play a Paladin in World of Warcraft, even though I did play a Death Knight, which is very close to Dark Knight, by the way. But both of them are definitely a little bit more DPS kind of feeling when it comes to tanking. But it honestly probably one of my favorites that I've played. So I'm very excited to see where it transitions. Also, I have really cool AoEs and things, and so
Very
everyone
edgy.
gets confused. They're very
Yeah,
edgy.
And I think like one of the things is called a blood gauge.
Yeah.
Blood gauge.
It's literally called a blood gauge. So
That was supposed to be our dark arcs for all of our characters.
No, I'm a Paladin main. That's my main when I play on my main character. I've been rerunning the game with everybody, and I've been playing Astrologian, which I'm really really enjoying. I like the changes to it. It's a fun job. It's fun to heal. Healing is, I don't know why healing feels very cathartic to me in this game. Like it just feels
Not because you've
like,
done it already.
Well,
Like
I
you've
have.
done the other stuff already, right?
Yeah, but I also feel like healing it's not stressful unless like I'm in a raid situation, unless like I'm doing like the most recent raids. Like then it can be very stressful. But like when we're doing dungeons, it's just like one of those things. Throw up a region, fucking just AoE as much as you possibly can, and then just kind of keep going, kind of type thing, right? So I've really enjoyed that. But I am a Paladin main, and tanking in this game has always been my favorite. Always been my favorite. So this podcast is supposed to be at the start of ARR. So we've
Correct.
gone through A Realm Reborn for the sake of this podcast.
Yes.
What are you guys' thoughts on A Realm Reborn for the most part?
Oh man. I like it. I love I honestly, the biggest part that baffles me is how we're playing a story that already happened, but you're only getting remnants of it. Like I saw a cutscene yesterday of the original like Olda intro from Final Fantasy 1.0, and how like you see Yshulta's mom, you see Minfilia as a kid, Thancred as like I guess a teenager or something. I don't know how old Thancred's supposed to be in that. He looks like Thancred that we've known.
I know, right? Yeah.
But he also like knows Minfilia, who's also a little girl in this cutscene. So I'm confused on how that works. But like you get to see that there's a bunch of different lore there, like about all this like stuff that happens before the I would keep wanting to call it a cataclysm just because of World of Warcraft, but like the big calamity that happens, you know what I mean? And I think it's absolutely fucking genius to reuse that story and have it as an afterword of like, this is what happened, this is how we're moving forward from it.
How did the world react to everything that happened, kind of type thing?
Exactly, you know what I mean? And we get to see how the world got shaped from that. Even seeing like returning characters later on, like that we've seen in like previous cutscenes and stuff like that. It helped, even the use of music. You know what I mean? Like using answers, right? Because you hear answers in the 1.0 stuff, right? But like it now has a different meaning because you know what happens when you hear that full song.
Yeah.
And now every time you hear answers in Final Fantasy, you think back to what happens there, and you know shit's about to go down.
You know that, because like whenever I hear answers, I think of Bahamut or I think of the Calamity, and think of like what the world went through at that point, right? And it's the same thing. Like when we're gonna get to Heaven's War, the same thing happens when I hear the Dragon Song. It's the same thing. Like I think of like the power, like the battle between Nidhogg and yourself and Estinian and all that kind of stuff. But like, A Realm Reborn is like one of those things where like you have to go through it. Yeah. The problem is you have to go through it.
It's a rite of passage almost.
Because you can't experience the story afterwards without A Realm Reborn. That's the problem with A Realm Reborn. It is a slog, but it's a slog you have to go through.
And there's a lot of good moments there.
Oh,
there is a lot of great moments. It's just, it definitely plays like an MMO at that point, where you have a lot of useless quests. You have a lot of quests where it's just like, talk to this person to your left, then 2 feet, talk to this other person to your right, and it's just like we can cut a lot of that out. But a lot of it is in the grander scope of things. Once we finally got into Heaven's Wards, once we finally got into Stormblood, a lot of the here's a long book, so then we can make the book look like this later on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't have to have extra exposition for these characters that you should already know because you played ARR. There's it's there just to service the rest of the game later on, and I think it works well in the grand scope of things.
Yeah.
How about you, Fee? What do you think about the story? So for ARR, for Realm Reborn.
Well, comparing it to WoW, it is like when we first started. Like I remember we all did our own things for the first portion until we got to the real like MSQ. And I started in a place called Olda. For people who are not familiar, it's one of the starting places. And so I was introduced to characters like Reborn, the Sultana, Papashan, and all these other like small characters who you think like, okay, whatever. At least from coming from WoW, when you start in a starting area, you're not going to be paying attention to these people later on in the actual like.
Because when the starting area in World of Warcraft, it's like they just drop you in like a training area.
Correct.
And
yeah,
then you,
exactly.
And then you like somehow teleport to like Orgrimmar or Stormwind, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I just like thought like, okay, like this Papashan person, like whatever, like, oh, the Sultana, like sure, like cool, like we'll get out of this area and then we're never gonna come back here. That wasn't the case. We kept on coming back to these characters, and then there was a particular point during ARR where we were like where we saw Papashan, and I freaked out because I'm like, it's Papashan, and everyone's like, who the fuck is this guy? And I'm like, you don't, this guy, he's so fucking cool because he's a, I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah, it's just you get this connection with these characters, and even though it might seem like, yes, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's not a long trip because it is. There are some times where you're just like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. It's too much. There's too much story. There's too much background. I can't specifically. I know that at least for me, I'm in a time zone that's a lot
further,
a little further than some of the people we play with. So there are times where it's 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'm like, I can't do this. I don't know.
I
what I'm
don't
doing.
care about your exposition right now.
Yeah, but then it just kind of like later on, you're like, you kind of have these connections with these characters to a point where there are scenes where like I have ugly cried on mute because I'm like, I was not expecting this, and I'm like, this is BS. And then I come back like 15 minutes later and everyone's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Like, what do you expect from me?
You're gonna be okay, Free?
No, I'm not gonna be okay. There's just even like, and this is just an ARR. This isn't even talking about the things that we've already experienced later on in Word. But there was some things that happened in ARR that I'm just like, what the what?
The big thing I want to talk about for ARR is like, so ARR, it is a slow drip. It is like like it is what it is. So I guess the biggest part of ARR is like the end of ARR when everything happens in Olda, right? When everything happens with Reborn, everything happens with the Sultana, and then with the Scions in general, right?
Yes, yeah.
Leading up to that, did you after experiencing that, were you guys like, yes, okay, this story is something. Like there is a narrative that they're trying to thread now.
100%. Just the amount of tension that was building up to that. Like we all kind of figured something was gonna happen. We didn't know exactly what was gonna happen, but like leading up to it, there was like building tension like between the characters. Hell, even when we were going to like the train station where we were all sitting there. Oh, by the way, it probably is worth mentioning that we all played most of the MSQ up to at least Stormblood together.
Yeah.
So everything we did was together. So we got to the train station and we see that guy who's just like talking to on the thing. We're like, oh shit, something's going on here. So there's a conspiracy here. And then like I made a joke just like, oh yeah, we're going to the Red Wedding.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh shit.
Lo and behold, shit went down. Yeah.
Shit went down. But yeah, no, after that main final thing and then the credits, I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm in. I'm in. And then you told us there was like hundreds plus quests for the patches.
Well, I think the Sultana stuff, that was part of post ARR, right?
Yes, it was.
Is it?
Yeah,
that's
it was.
That was
You're
post
right, it
ARR.
was.
Yeah, that was the end of post ARR. The
Mhm.
end of ARR, I'm trying to remember what happened,
Yeah.
honestly, but I can't really remember. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to.
I think wasn't that like the whole Raid and Nero and those guys, and then
Yeah, the
after that-
Garleans
Yes.
trying to
Yes, that
Yes.
was
summon
Castrum.
Bahamut again, I guess.
Yeah, that
or
was
something like that.
Castrum,
Yeah,
Meridium,
then
and
it's a
Praetorium.
new it's a
Yeah.
new age, and then they're like, but the new age is brought with many turmoils and many issues.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh,
And Sid
and then
has an
it's like
airship.
paved with blood, and you're
Sid
like,
has an
oh,
airship, yeah.
fun! It has an airship.
Yeah, that was us going through the Ultima weapon and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember with the summoning of primals, like going through each primal, like going to like different areas and talking to like the areas like who are summoning the primals and stuff like that. That was ARR, right? Before leading up
Yes,
to the...
it was AR.
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah. Like
I
going
can't-
into
I-
Garuda and stuff like that.
It's very foggy what was post and what was like in
So
ARR.
Shiva was post.
Yeah, Shiva
Titan
was
was
post,
pre. Like that was Titan was inside of ARR. I think the last one was
Garuda, I want to say.
it was either Garuda or Ifrit.
Ifrit's first.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no, yeah,
Ifrit.
Ifrit is
yeah,
first.
yeah.
It
Titan.
goes Ifrit, Titan, Garuda.
Noah's hair guy. It's
Oh,
Noah's
and
hair
Ramu.
guy.
And
Ramu.
Ramu. Yeah.
Was Ramu a post AR in AR or was
Yeah,
it
he's
post?
in post AR because
Okay,
you
so post
interact
AR.
with him in ARR.
Ramu, Leviathan, and Shiva are all post.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All three
Okay,
of them are
yeah.
post. Yeah.
Yeah, you have an interaction with him in ARR, and then you go away, and then you come back, and then he's just like, "You have to prove yourself by killing me," and then you're like,
That
Okay,
means proof, trial by death. It's trial by
Yeah.
death.
And then my character just went pop. All right.
Yeah, I really do think. I think for me, the turning point was when they introduced the Ultimate Weapon.
yeah.
When the Ultimate Weapon finally like killed the three primals, I was like, oh shit, we're about to fucking go deep into this story now. We're about because I've been a Final Fantasy fan for 20 plus years, so for me, this is very Final Fantasy. Very Final Fantasy. We go through every primal and stuff like that. I want to talk to you guys about those fights as well. But
Yeah, because those are fights that have happened in Final Fantasy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
like, even the Ultimate Weapon's a returning character in the series.
Ultimate Weapon is like Ultimate Weapon is usually a side boss that is probably the hardest boss in the game. That's usually how they do it in different Final Fantasies. But yeah, like Garuda, Ifrit, Shiva, Ramu, they're all in previous Final Fantasy games. They're all summons.
Yeah.
Or
For sure.
things you have to fight. Yeah, that's where my turning point was. But when the whole thing happened in Olda, I was like, man, I don't know how these guys like this game for me was like a wake up call when it came like you can write good stories for MMORPGs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can legit run or like you can legit write good ones. And it dawned on me finally that this game is not an MMO, it's more of an RPG than it is an MMO.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Which
I think that's why I like it so much. Is because it doesn't. It feels like an RPG that you actually your character actually lives in.
Yeah.
Like you can. It's an MMO in the purest sense, but you can still see like other players and they're doing their own thing, and your character's doing his own thing, and your character feels just as important as everybody else in this world. Nobody kind of glances over what you've done because everybody remembers what you did.
Yeah.
No. I think so there was definitely some spots like when I was doing the Paladin quests that were like really like, okay, this is like really fun, or when we got into stories. There was one person that specifically was a turning point for me, and that was Moonbrina.
Oh yeah.
Moonbrina.
I love Moonbrina. I was just like, oh man, she looks like my character. She's a Roganin, because you don't really see Roganins very often. And then it happened, and I was just like, that was the first time I put myself on mute for like 15 minutes. I'm like, I don't even know what to do right now. Like, I'm not
I feel like that's good writing right there, right? Because she was introduced in a patch, and we're gonna talk about spoilers when it comes to Realm Reborn. We have to, right?
Yeah, we have to.
And then she dies in the same patch, or maybe one patch later.
Yeah,
I think she dies like a patch later. Yeah, she dies in a patch later. But like the interaction that you have with her, and then that history she has with like Orion J,
Yeah.
it really solidifies, like, man, these guys know each other. Like, these people know each other from like way back, and the way she interacts with you, her dialogue with the other I was gonna say Scions, is just, it's done so well that you start caring a lot for these characters.
To a point where Orion J is still influenced by her during the end of Heaven's Word.
Yeah.
And he mentions her. And I got teary-eyed. Even thinking about her, I get teary-eyed. And I'm like, this is silly. Because like
his love for that character, in his own words.
Yeah.
I played WoW for literally 5 years. I don't think I cried over a character. Maybe once. But like nothing in comparison to someone who I like specifically met in a patch and then afterwards. And I was just like, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to do with like I wasn't expecting this specific reaction. And then when we got to what we are deeming the Red Wedding, just like at least my interactions with like the Sultana and Reborn and like being a paladin of Olda, because that's what you're like literally addressed as. You're a freelance paladin of Olda, because when you're going through the quest line, you start as like a lowly like a gladiator, and then you move up to a paladin, and then you have to redeem yourself, and you're fighting, and you're doing all this stuff, and then Robon's really excited to see you, and then like even the people in Olda are excited to see you, and then you end up seeing what happens to her, and you're like, what the fuck? Like I was upset, and then when I was seeing, I was like literally cheering. I'm like, Robon, kill this guy. I need you to like literally take him out. Like, I understand, like that crazy look in his eyes, by all means, go for it. You need to kill him. Like, this is it. Like,
because he's been in Olda for so long. He's been the right-hand person for the Sultana for so long. They're like peas in a pod in a way, right? And when somebody like disrespects somebody that you care and love for so much, you're gonna go crazy, especially if that person is dead.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd care about Lawfeld so much. There's only a few. Papa Sean is one of them. Few. The Sultana is another one. A few others that we'll talk about later on in other expansions, but those two are really, really important.
Yeah.
I think that Moonbrina thing is very important. What happens to Moonbrina, because it's a definite like shock to the system, and then it's a good lesson that you'll learn very early on in that game, is that we're going to have characters within our party or close friendships within the Scions, and people are actually going to die, and those deaths are going to stick.
They're going to matter.
They're going to matter. And I think that's the first time someone in your actual party, if I'm correct, actually dies.
That is correct.
And stays dead. And
I mean, the little leaf thing died, but that's not really in your party.
No, I mean, she's not really in your party.
A little drop kick here and there is not.
I was so upset. I still got upset about it, but nothing in comparison to Moonbrina.
Yeah, that's an actual like shock to the system. And speaking on story, I wanted to mention that like in AR there's a lot of throwaway lines, but they do have a lot of small little details within what people say that has a general like bigger scope of what they're trying to say later on in the story, right? And I think that's great storytelling. A lot of it's really good storytelling, because there's not a lot of lines that they just kind of throw away. There's usually double meanings behind what a lot of people say.
Somehow it's gonna come back.
Yeah,
right.
Like there is without spoiling this detail, this is going to be later on, and I'll mention it again later on. There's a character death that happens way later on in the story, and one of the words is goodbye again, X, right? And you don't know, like at first I was like, what do you mean again? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why are you saying again? And it's like, oh, okay, that's what you meant when you said that.
Yeah. When we get into further things, there's gonna be so many more that you guys are gonna be like, "What the fuck? What?
And
Like,
I love that. I love those little details within the story where it's like even small things a character says doesn't make sense now, it will most likely make 100% sense later on when they actually reveal what's really going on.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. One thing I want to say with the Moonbrina stuff, because I know a lot of people didn't like Orion J at the beginning when we were playing. But like that whole stuff with Moonbrina and Orion J, I feel like swayed people at that point because you it's somebody that he cares for and somebody that he has actually like he actually loved, and like you can see that with Minfilia as well when he sees Minfilia. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, all these you definitely tell just by the writing of these characters that every single one of them give a shit about each other.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like they're all they're all there, but most games everybody kind of just talks to each other. They have like little small throwaway lines here and there. That's really kind of about it. But hearing the way these characters describe, like the way Thancred describes his loyalty to Minfilia, you know what I mean? You know that Thancred will do anything, even die for Minfilia, and you know that, and you know the same for Alphana, same for all these other characters. Like the way they describe each other, there's legitimate friendship there. There's a legitimate kind of family building there. You know what I mean? That you don't get from any other kind of MMO. You know what I mean? I know people like to rag on WoW for this because it's just like your interactions with characters a lot of the times is just a little bit of text, and that's really kind of about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like. Oh, sorry, V. You go.
Oh no. I was just gonna kind of elaborate on that. Yeah, there's definitely some times where you're just like, if you actually read the quests, sure, there's some really good storylines there. There is some really great dialogue if you're reading, but there's no real reason to, other than to like, okay, here's a bunch of text. It's almost like going onto a website to get a recipe, and then you're like, okay, I don't need to see like your life story. I just need to get the recipe, and I need to make this like 30-minute meal.
I just need the ingredients and the steps, and that's it.
Exactly.
I don't need the stuff leading up to that. Which is what I have a problem with World of Warcraft is like when you pick up a quest, it is a page long of just shit. And I'm like 2 lines in, I was like, I don't care, just give me the quest.
Too long, didn't read.
Yeah, too long, didn't want to read, right? And this is why in Final Fantasy they have that little dialogue box at the bottom, right? And it is only a certain length that it can be, and usually it doesn't go over 4 lines. Right? That's one of the big things.
Yeah, and then even the way they do voice acting in that game, you know what I mean? AR had some very choice voice acting, but at least all of it served a grander purpose, you know what I mean? Where like you would have, even if you didn't pay attention to the actual like text that was going on in the story that was leading up to it that wasn't voiced, at least you knew that when it did voice over something, you knew that was important. You knew that they were going to tell you exactly what you needed to hear, so then you can complete this quest and know the grander scope of things. You know what I mean? You can not read the text of most of ARR, but still get the grand story at the end of the day once everybody starts talking.
Yeah.
One
thing the next thing I want to talk about are some of the encounters in the game, right?
Okay.
So I want to know what your guys' favorite primals been so far in ARR. Just ARR in general. So this is
do you have an idea, Fee?
This is
I already know.
Garuda, Titan, Leviathan, Shiva, and Ramu.
Oh, I know off the top of my head. I know.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You say it.
Shiva.
Shiva?
Shiva's my favorite. One, the music, because, and I constantly say this, is it literally sounds like you could take that music and then do like the end of the season massive anime fight, and then it's just like all we need to do is work together as a team to bring her down. And then just the ability where she like goes up, she flies around the arena, and then everything becomes quiet, and it just like it's just a bell, and it's like snap, and everything's frozen and silent.
She clicks her heels.
Yeah. It is
Steps on
so good. It's so good. And Harv, when we were going into it, you're just like, you're gonna love the fight. You're all gonna love this fight. And I'm like, okay, like sure. There's been some weird stuff. I've seen a rock man who threw me off the edge. I've seen a fiery thing. I've seen a guy with big nose hairs. Like sure, like woo. But then like the Shiva fight, so good. Like that is 100% my favorite primal. Also, it just kind of reminds me of what is it? It reminds me of Jujutsu Kaisen, specifically when they go into the realm, and then he's just like, he uses this ability. Oh my god, I can't even remember like off the top of my head, and I apologize. Where he just snaps them into this like other realm, and he takes them into this like sheer, like it's pitch black, but you see in the middle of this like black like ocean abyss is a island and there's a shrine and he's just sitting there and then the person, like the creature that he's fighting, just gets ripped apart into shreds. Chef's kiss. Like her ability to just make everyone silent, and it's like it's literally, if you've experienced snow before and you've walked outside by yourself, that's what it's like. It is complete silence.
Yeah.
You're standing there and you're like, this is literally it. So yes, Shiva. 100%.
And then the music change after
Yeah.
she does it.
Just
And the
absolute
rock
silence.
music. Yeah.
All you hear is the little like as she's moving around,
Yeah.
and then you hear the click, and then everything just breaks. That's
Yeah.
so good.
It's
Yeah.
so good. So good.
All right, Frank, what's yours?
What
you got?
So this one's gonna be kind of surprising because one, it isn't a hard fight. It's a very easy fight, but I just love the build up and just the amount of respect you get for the character when you do it, and that is Garuda.
Oh yeah.
Because I went into ARR or Final Fantasy 14 completely dry. I'm pretty sure Fee has done the same as well. Where like I'm not looking up what's next. I'm not looking up the songs that are next. You know what I mean? Every now and again, I'll get spoiled on a song or two on accident just because of YouTube autoplay. But like, I went in dry, right? And the build up to Garuda is absolutely insanely fun. We're just like, you're getting told by everybody like this is the primal, right? Like this is the craziest primal, you know, this is possibly the end of the world type scenario type thing. And then you get to her and you see the heavens, right? You see the sky open up and you hear the organ, you know what I mean? And then you're hearing the vocals of Garuda, and she's descending from the ground, right? And then she gets down there, and then she's just like now falls. She just screams, and all these feathers are flying around, and she gets the smile on her face as the music is building up and building up and building up. It's not the craziest fight in the world. It's not the hardest fight in the world, but the amount of like, that's when I knew this game is going to have some insanely good bosses. Because leading up to that, I mean, Ifrit's okay, Titan's okay, you know, but Garuda, like, just the amount of just like sheer tension just in her intro is absolutely fun.
And she is one of the only primals in the game, minus I feel like Shiva, that actually has good dialogue that is meaningful to the story, and like her like way of trying to justify why she's doing what she's doing kind of oversteps every other primal. Like it oversteps Titan, because like Titan doesn't say anything. He just gets summoned by the kobolds and he's like, I'm a hard man.
I'm a hard man.
And then you have Ifrit, who is the arena for Ifrit is cool. The fight, like how Ifrit comes down, like all that kind of stuff is like whatever, right? But I feel like Garuda is like the one that like kind of solidified the idea of like these primals are beings and they have a reason why they're doing this, and there's a voice behind
powerful.
Them.
Yeah, and they are powerful. That's the thing I get from Garuda's fight, is that she is a powerful being. But yeah, that fight was just, even on extreme, like that extreme fight is just so fun. Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely hard on extreme, but like, you know, the mechanics of it, you know, having to separate things, like even with that music blaring, like there's a very good reason why if you see me on my mount, 9 times out of 10, it's a Garuda mount, because I just love that music. That music is just so good.
For me, I would like okay, so just Fee pick Shiva, I'll go with something else. I'll go with Leviathan for
I'm
my
sorry.
pick. No, it's fine. I'll go with something else. I like Leviathan mainly because I love the music in Leviathan. It's really, really good. The mechanics of Leviathan are different from every other fight that we've gone through, right? With the head and the tail, it kind of switches everything around, where like only certain people can attack the tail, only certain people can attack the head, and then like this is one of the first one. Well, actually, it's the second one where like the arena, there's no size to the arena. Right, I'm talking about EX. This is the EX one, not the.
There's no bumpers to save you.
Yeah, there's no bumpers, so you kind of have to be aware of where Leviathan's gonna come up and stuff like that. So like, I think that's gotta be one of my top fights for ARR.
I hate it. I hate that fight.
Oh my god, the amount of times everybody fell, so good. It's so good.
Oh my god. No, I hate it. It's usually because what we've done is I've always been the off tank for that fight, and so they're like, go on the tail, and I'm like, son of a bitch. And so I go over to the tail and I'm getting smacked by the tail, and then they're like ads, and I'm like, okay. So I'm like trying to maneuver through that, and then they're like, watch out, and I'm like, whoa, and then I'm like running around like whoop, just smack, 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 and then I'm like, okay, cool, I'm now in the water and I'm dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am
R.I.P.
so freaking excited for you guys to experience all the primals in Heaven's Ward, because I know we went through a couple of them for the story,
Yeah.
but I feel like we need to go through the other ones because they're so freaking good.
I
They're
definitely
so
want to go
good.
back and do some of those EXs.
Do you get
yeah.
mounts for them?
Yeah,
Yes.
all the EX mounts.
Stay
Yeah.
list.
All the
Stay
extreme.
list.
Every extreme primal has a mount.
Okay.
The ones
weekend.
in Heaven's Ward are birds. They're all birds. And
I
then
love birds.
the ones in Stormblood are all Okami dogs. So that's
I'm excited for the birds.
yeah. So those are those mounts. So I'm excited for us to jump through those. So that's what I wanted to cover for this. I wanted to cover ARR because I know our next one's gonna be Heaven's Ward, and I'm gonna have way more to talk about Heaven's Ward because when it comes to story and stuff.
Yeah, AR has been it's been 2 months since we've even been in AR at this point, right?
About a month, I would say.
Yeah, a month or so. Yeah, so it's not too fresh, but Heaven's Ward, man, we gotta talk about Heaven's Ward.
Yeah.
I have one question for you guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was your least favorite experience of ARR? Because I already know mine.
All right, you start then. What's yours?
The summoner questline for Totoro. Sorry, that was why. Still so angry because it was literally just a delay on the main story, and I get it, like she needs to have her own thing. She didn't have anything throughout ARR. I get it. Like she was a side character. She wanted to like redeem herself, but that was the only part of ARR that I skipped. I was just like, and I skip, and I skip, and I skip, and people are like, that's not very nice.
Fuck Totoro.
I mean, Totoro's got better now that we're playing.
Oh,
right?
100%. But
now
at the
that she's
time,
made me some drip,
Yeah.
she's cool.
Yeah, I think my least favorite thing about Realm Reborn is the structure of Realm Reborn. In general, it's just the structure of how questing is done. It's too monotonous still. They've even brought it down. Like the ARR app, like post ARR was like 130 quests or something like that. They brought it down to like what 90 or something like that, and around that time, around that.
Yeah,
it's still too bloated. ARR is way too still bloated. So I do feel like that is one of my biggest gripes with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Harv there on that. I think they really need to, if they want people to. The problem with ARR that I have with the rest of the thing is that the rest of the game is absolutely really good. Like Heaven's Ward and leading into Stormblood, that shit was so well done in terms of pacing and the way that you get to one end to the other. In ARR, there's a lot of beginning chunk that needs to be taken out. Honestly, I feel like they should. There's a lot there that they can take out that is not necessary to the grander story.
sure.
But I feel like they should cut down at least ARR up to the size of at least Heaven's Ward. I know it looks good for a trial for the trial people because you have a lot of content to do. Yeah, but I think it would make a lot more people come in and be more comfortable with the rest of the games and the rest of the way the structure is for the expansions going forward if you cut that down to where the expansions are as well. You know what I mean? ARR has its own story. Cut the patches down to at least like, you know, maybe post Heaven's Ward size. You know what I mean? Maybe the size of Heaven's Ward if you can. But like
ARR to me is like when somebody says, "Oh man, it gets good 45 hours in." That's what ARR is to me. It's like get through ARR. Like ARR is good, but you still have to experience it. But it just gets so much better afterwards.
It's the meme of like, this is good, but it could be better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if they cut it down a lot, I feel like a lot more players would be better paced into the later expansions. Because once you get to the expansions, you're like, wow, this expansion's already over. Yeah. Like I remember playing 100 quests to get to ARR before the patches even started.
Yeah,
and it seems
Heaven's
like
Ward was like 40 quests, I think, at the end. After like at post Heaven's Ward, it was like 40 quests.
Yeah,
boom, done.
And it's a common sentiment from a lot of people. You know what I mean? You see a lot of people talk about it. A lot of the people, the big joke is now you have to get through the patches, and a lot of people do see it as kind of more of like a rite of passage type deal, where like once you get through the patches, then you can get to the good stuff. But like we can just get to the good stuff. You know what I mean? You can make this, you can downsize this game, that beginning parts to the point where like players are in probably like 50 or 60 quests maybe of like posts.
Yeah, you could cut it in half.
Stuff.
You could cut it in half.
Yeah, you can cut it in half. No, but I do agree. Yeah, it's too much. It's too much to get the player ready for, and it kind of nulls your expectations of what Heaven's Ward and Stormblood are going to be. Because I imagine a lot of players go in and say, "Hey, this is how long this is." I imagine that's how long, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's a lot more short form, but it does a lot more with what it's doing in that short form.
Yeah.
Sure.
No.
We haven't talked about rating. I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk about that in its separate thing about rating in this game, because I feel like we just haven't experienced enough yet. We've experienced the first the first 4 turns really, because turn 3 doesn't count. But yeah, we're still kind of in the infancy part of that so far.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we gotta get that good raid group going.
Yeah,
we gotta get a
in
stable
my
raid group
opinion,
going.
we still have a little ways to go for thinking, like figuring out mechanics and stuff like that. Because like there's a lot of lingo in this game that you guys are gonna come towards, and understanding lingo is a really big thing when it comes to the MMOs. I mean, that's just in any MMO. That's just like if you look at World of Warcraft, they have lingo, and you already know it. The person that's coming in there has no idea, like, what does that mean?
Yeah, people are coming in like, you got dots, you got GCDs. I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck you guys are saying. And now I'm like, oh, GCD, global cooldown. Oh, dots, damage over time. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah,
it's gonna take a while. But once you get it, you get it. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, guys, this was fun. This was great.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So our next one's gonna be Heaven's Ward. That's I'm gonna be focusing on Heaven's Ward for the next one.
Absolutely.
But Fee, where can everybody find you?
Well, everyone can find me over on my Twitter and twitch.tv. Wow, Twitch. Twitter.com/Serenix. You can also find me over at Twitch, because I am streaming Mondays and Thursdays and just a random day throughout the week. And you can find me over there at twitch.tv/Serenix. And you can also find me on, speaking of Stadia, that's on the Game Source Network. Every bi-weekly, we're going to be having an episode this coming Tuesday where we talk about all things Stadia.
Heck yes. How about you, Frank?
You could find me at Point in Progress, where I chill with these 2 individuals and 2 other individuals every week, and we discuss the gaming news, the topics of the week, and what we're playing. I'm maybe getting back into streaming soon. My thing on streaming is, if I do get back into streaming, I don't want to do camera streams. That's my thing. And I think I'm seeing more and more people go into streaming and not do cameras, and I think that's great. That's where I kind of want to be for right now, because like I make dumb faces when I play video games. Okay, I've made tons of dumb faces during this podcast. When I get relaxed, I look like. All right.
I mean, Fee is the queen of faces.
I know. To a point that I now make the same faces as my character, by the way, because she'll make a face and we'll be doing the same face. We're like, or we're just like.
That's one of the biggest things for streams for me is like, as long as your audio's good, dude, you're good to go.
Yeah, and when I do come back, once I might do some Final Fantasy streams off without a camera, but I do want to honor my promise and eventually play Neo 2. It is still installed on my system. I keep it installed on my system for the eventuality that I will play it, and I will play that game. So that is hopefully coming up. Once Endwalker, once we find right now where we are in Final Fantasy and the plans that we have for what we're doing in Stormblood gives me more time to kind of play other games. So that's probably where it'll happen. But keep an eye out if you've subscribed to my Twitch, and if anybody who has, thank you so much for staying subscribed. I will definitely be streaming soon.
Heck yes. Hera's like looking at us like the demon she is.
Yeah, this is she wanted pets. Now she's getting pets, and now she's angry that she's getting pets. So
she's angry. She's like, "Oh, am I on camera? I don't want these people to see this."
She's like, "I didn't sign up for this. I need to sign an NDA."
Right. All right, so you can find me at Beer in the Hair pretty much everywhere except Beer in the Hair on YouTube, which is Beer. Oh, sorry, you can't find on YouTube is Beer in the Hair Gaming, and then you can also find me in Point in Progress here. Again, for housekeeping, we have a 12 minutes podcast out on the channel right now. It is our spoiler cast for the game 12 minutes. It's me, Mario, Robo Dessert, and Robert Highwind from Co-op Comedy sitting down and talking about 12 minutes. We're gonna be back again next week.
Yeah.
For another episode of Fantasy in Progress. Thank you guys so much
Oh yeah.
for joining us. I guess.
Later, bye.